What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 8 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. So make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Today's video is brought to you guys by Birddogs. And look, I know we're all searching for that perfect pair of shorts or pants that offers the best style, the best comfort, the best bang for your buck. Well, guess what? That search is over because Birddogs offers all of that and so much more. If you're looking for shorts, they have a ton of options with activewear, casual wear, or even beach wear. On top of that, their pants have a selection of khakis, joggers, and sweatpants. So what are you waiting for? Regardless of the occasion of the season, get yourself the most stylish, the most comfortable pair of pants with a built-in liner from Birddogs.com. And if you use promo code ADP today, you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Again, that's Birddogs.com, code ADP, and you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Make sure to check out birddogs.com, link in the description, and we kick off Week 8 on Thursday night with the Ravens at the Buccaneers. And I'll be honest with you guys, in terms of running backs, this is a matchup that I do not love. As you can see, I currently have all of these guys as sits, but let's look at why. Starting with the Ravens side of it, obviously J.K. Dobbins is going to miss some time with his injury, so he's not a factor. Then Kenyon Drake, well, he's pretty much become the backup to Gus Edwards, who returned for the first time this last week. So again, backup, kind of a non-factor. He's a sit. Gus Edwards is the most intriguing guy here. In his first game back versus the Browns in Week 7, he actually had a lot of success. So it might be a surprise to see him as a sit. But hear me out. This Buccaneers defense is a much tougher matchup than that of the Browns. Also, Kenyon Drake is still going to see about 9 to 10 carries. So will Lamar Jackson. And Edwards, he doesn't offer much as a pass catcher. He's more of a standard suited guy that's going to be touchdown dependent. I'm not sure that the game script is going to go in his favor. That's what worries me here. If you're desperate, yes, you're probably going to end up starting him because there's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of tough matchups here, so I understand it. But for what it's worth, I do have him more so as a high-end running back 3, kind of that RB2 running back 3 border, primarily in standard formats. For the Buccaneers, might be a shock to see Leonard Fournette as a sit, but he's been primarily, in my opinion, a matchup-based play. Yes, he's had some huge weeks, but he doesn't offer much in the rushing department. The Buccaneers are one of the worst teams rushing the football purely. Fournette has delivered when he's gotten those short touchdowns, 1-2 yard touchdowns, and when he's primarily had success catching the football. I don't see that happening here. I think the Buccaneers are going to have to abandon the run again. The offense just right now broken. The offensive line is an issue. Tom Brady is an issue. I think it's going to be Mike Evans. I think it's going to be Chris Godwin. I think Fournette is going to be a guy that gets you single-digit fantasy points. So ultimately, I am sitting him this week. Then Broncos at the Jaguars. Again, only one name that I really want to trust here. That's Travis Etienne. Slowly but surely, we're seeing that Etienne breakout. He's taken over as the primary guy for the Jaguars. James Robinson didn't do anything this last week. That seems crazy, but that's exactly what happened. And that, kind of really nice start to the season seems to be behind him. He is a sit for the foreseeable future, in fact. Then for the Broncos, so here, this is kind of dependent on a couple of things. Is Russell Wilson going to start? He missed Week 7 with a hamstring. If he plays, I do feel a little bit better about the options, primarily Melvin Gordon, but even then, I am nervous because he's just not getting the volume that we hoped with Javonte Williams out. Latavius Murray, who they just recently signed, is getting close volume to Melvin Gordon. And even when they are getting the volume, it's on an offense that's not all that scary with Russell Wilson currently, whoever's at quarterback. So opposing defenses can kind of stop it. So I have both these guys as sits. I think right now this Broncos offense just way too hard to trust. Then Dolphins at the Lions, a little bit better here. Raheem Mostert, he has kind of solidified himself as the primary guy for the Dolphins. He had a decent game versus the Steelers. I think it's going to continue versus this bad Lions defense. I am starting him. Chase Edmonds, pretty much an afterthought. He is a sit. For the Lions, DeAndre Swift didn't play this last week. If he does, you fire him up. And then I would be benching Jamal Williams. If Swift is out, you go with Jamal Williams. He should get the volume. The Lions have struggled offensively as of late a little bit, but I think the volume is going to be there. Williams is kind of in that low-end RB2 range for me. Moving on, Panthers at the Falcons. One name that I'm looking at here, Donta Foreman. The reason being Chuba Hubbard, ankle injury, so Foreman should get more opportunities. He did look like the better running back. Now, what is concerning is the Panthers going into Week 7's game versus the Bucs said Hubbard was their starter. Also, on top of that, they've said it's going to be a committee approach. So, if Hubbard looks a little bit better, and assuming he plays, that is, then Foreman could, again, just have a disappointing performance. But I'm kind of basing this off the ankle injury that Hubbard had. So maybe we're going to see the Panthers play it a little bit slow, a little bit smart with Hubbard, and Foreman is going to have some success. This Falcons defense doesn't scare me. If Hubbard doesn't play, I have Foreman as a mid-level running back. 2, for the Falcons, Tyler Algier. He dominated the carries, but I just don't love this Falcons offense. I think it's going to be a tough matchup here versus this Panthers team. So I just don't trust Atlanta right now, period, from top to bottom. Caleb Huntley not getting enough volume. I'm sitting Algier. I'm sitting Huntley. I'm just waiting for Cordero Patterson to get back. Yes, Algier had some success because he found, the end zone, but without that touchdown this last week, wouldn't have been all that impressive. So again, Foreman, the main name for me here. Afterwards, Cardinals at the Vikings. This should be a much better one. So James Conner, if he returns, you have to start him. He's going to make everyone else here an afterthought, including Benjamin, who's coming off a great performance. But Conner is the starter, and if he plays, I have him as a mid to high-end running back 2, and then Benjamin is a sit. If Conner, for some reason, doesn't play, Benjamin, I think, again, pretty much slot him into that James Conner role. We've seen he can have success, so I would be starting him. For the Vikings, it's Dalvin Cook, and it's pretty much that simple. I think he's going to have success here. I think that you're going to see a low to mid-level running back 1 performance from Dalvin Cook. Next up, we've got the Bears at the Cowboys. Here, I'll start David Montgomery. I view him as a low-end running back 2. Yes, it's a tough matchup versus this Cowboys defense, and the Bears offense is almost impossible to trust. But out of all those guys, Montgomery is arguably the one that you should have the most faith in because he's still the primary running back. He'll get the volume there, and he's utilized as a pass catcher. So that kind of boosts his floor. I have him as a low-end running back too. For the Cowboys, I'm starting both Zeke and Tony Pollard. They both had success versus the Lions this last week. The Bears defense a little bit better, but in my opinion, not too much. Dak Prescott back under center. That's going to elevate things for everyone. So Zeke, I think, is a high-end running back 2. Tony Pollard, low-end running back 2. I think he will get his opportunities because I could see this one being a blowout. And then Khalil Herbert, he's a backup unless Montgomery gets injured or there's just one big fluky run. Herbert is a sit for me. Moving on, Raiders at the Saints. This one's pretty simple. You start both the guys. Josh Jacobs, shockingly, he's playing like a top 3 running back in the NFL in fantasy, so you continue to fire him up without question. For the Saints, Alvin Kamara, it's a little bit touchy here because Kamara seems to be a guy that you just wait until the fourth quarter, until garbage time to get some dink and dump passes to save his performance in PPR formats. Andy Dalton is better for Alvin Kamara. We'll see what happens if Jameis Winston is the guy. That's why I have Kamara more so as a high-end running back 2. Then Steelers at the Eagles. I really am only interested in Miles Sanders here. I'm not scared off by the Steelers defense. I think the Eagles, high-octane offense are going to have success here. Miles Sanders is going to get run. I have him as a high-end running back 2. Najee Harris might be a surprise, but I have him as a sit. The Steelers offense, it doesn't look good. Whether it's Pickett, whether it's Trubisky, they don't really do much through the air, so the opposing defenses can stop the run. And the Eagles have a pretty good defense, and I think they're going to cause issues for Najee Harris. I could see a single-digit fantasy performance from him. I have him as a sit. Afterwards, Patriots at the Jets. Damian Harris could be returning for this game. I think it'll be a decent matchup versus the Jets. I still would start Ramondre Stevenson. I have both these guys as low-end running back 2s in standard formats. Patriots are going to be run first, so I think they should have some opportunities. I think it'll be a close game, so I like both Harris and Stevenson. For the Jets, big injury for them. Breece Hall playing like a top 5, top 10 running back. ACL done for the year. We'll see if there's any trades that they execute, but for the time being, it's Michael Carter. I'm going to start him. His upside not as big as that of Breece Hall, but he's going to be utilized. I think he is a mid-level running back 2 here. I would be starting him. Moving on, Titans at the Texans. Again, pretty simple here. Derrick Henry, you start him in standard formats. He's a top 5 guy. Great. Dameon Pierce, he's getting a ton of volume. The Titans defense doesn't scare me all that much. I'm starting him here. I have him as a high-end running back 2. Afterwards, Giants at the Seahawks. Again, pretty simple. You start Saquon Barkley. That's been the case all year long. I don't think that you should stray away from that here or really ever. He is a top 5 running back. Seahawks defense, yes, it's been better as of late, but you start Saquon Barkley. And for Seattle, I mean, Kenneth Walker has been an absolute stud since Rashad Penny got injured. And you start him here. I have him as a low-end RB1. So this is a good matchup for the running back position in fantasy. Then Commanders at the Colts. So for Washington, Brian Robinson, I mean, even though he still leaves something to be desired, he's out-touching Antonio Gibson 2-1. So you're going to start Brian Robinson here. I think he is in the low-end running back 2 conversation. And then the other guys, I think just too unreliable. Gibson and McKissick are sits. For the Colts, the big news, Matt Ryan is not going to be the guy here, so you're going to have a quarterback change. I still think that Jonathan Taylor is, going to have success. The Commanders don't scare me. The Packers just had a lot of success versus them. Aaron Jones had a huge day. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to, have a relatively decent performance. I have him as a top 10 guy on the week. Nyheim Hines, I don't want to get too cute here. Matt Ryan, yes, he peppered Hines with targets. We don't know if that's going to be the case with the quarterback change, so I would rather sit him for 1 week. Then 49ers at the Rams. I'm really only interested in Christian McCaffrey. After the trade from Carolina to San Francisco, yes, this last week he didn't get a lot of volume, but I mean, that was the case. It's pretty much 2-day notice, and he was playing a game, so keep that in mind. Now with more time in between, he should have more success. He will be the guy, and you can say bye to Jeff Wilson. So that's why Wilson is a sit. McCaffrey should return to that, RB1 range here versus the Rams. And then I'm sitting Darrell Henderson. Yes, I know Cam Akers not going to be playing, and Henderson is the main guy, but this 49ers defense, it's legit. Now, I know you're going to say the Chiefs made them look like nobodies, but the Rams are not the Chiefs. So I think Henderson isn't going to get that much volume. I think the Rams are going to focus on passing the football. I have question marks about their offensive line. I think the 49ers are going to bounce back defensively, so Henderson to me is a sit. Then Packers at the Bills. This one could get ugly here, but Aaron Jones should still stay involved. I have him as a top 10 running back. In PPR formats, I think he will really salvage his value in the pass-catching department, especially if Allen Lazard's injury is more severe. That's still TBD. For the Bills, Devin Singletary, I think the Bills could, blow out the Packers here. We'll see. Singletary should get a lot of opportunities. I like him. I think he's going to be a mid to high end running back 2 on the week. And then A.J. Dillon, just not getting enough usage, not getting enough play as a pass catcher. Packers are down way too often, so he's an afterthought. He's been the backup since the start of the season, so to me, he's a sit here. I think he's really only viable in games that are going to be close. That's not the case here. Dillon, sit. Then Bengals at the Browns. You start both these guys. Joe Mixon, I think, will have a lot of success versus the Browns defense. That's been pretty much the case with all opposing running backs. And then for the Browns, Nick Chubb, top 5 running back. You play him. I think you will have success. Kareem Hunt, we'll see if he's still on the Browns, barring a trade or something like that. I would still take a chance on him. The typical flex PPR play, in the running back 2, running back 3 range. But with that, we wrap up our Week 8 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. As always, if you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section if you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.